Hello everyone and welcome to Wildlife Wednesdays. My name is Adam Huber and I work for the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service in Allen County, Kentucky. And today I'd like to talk about creating wildlife cover and bedding areas. Now I'm going to show you a few photos in today's video, and I have credited the original owners of those photos. And today what I'd like to talk about is a few options that you have whenever you're talking about creating wildlife bedding areas and cover. And so there's a lot of different things that you can do, obviously. But one of the most important things, I think, if you have the capability and the space and the resources to do so, is creating grass cover. And whenever I talk about grass cover, I'm meaning some of the common grass species such as switchgrass, blue stems, Egyptian wheats, and those types. So your switchgrass is a perennial bunch grass. Perennial meaning that it's going to keep coming back year after year. Depending on your varieties that you get, they will get between 5 to 10 feet tall, like I said, depending on your varieties. And they're really dense, clumpy grass. And those work really well for your deer, your turkeys, all those, your quail, about any kind of wildlife species that you have on your property. Those types of grasses are going to be ideal in those situations. The same thing is with your blue stems. There's big blue stem and also there's little blue stem. Those are a little bit shorter. They're not as tall, but they are the same. They are perennials and they are bunchy clump grasses. Those work really well also, and you can also mix in if you've got a field. You can not just plant one species, but you can mix in your switchgrasses, your blue stems, and so on, and get a really good thick dense cover for your wildlife. Another grass species that you could utilize would be Egyptian wheat. It gets a whole lot taller, and it's actually an annual, so that means you're going to have to plant it every year. It does get a big seed head on it, so it could be utilized for birds. They actually like the seed off of the Egyptian wheat, so it could be used for cover and for a food source later in the year. The Egyptian wheat does get about 12 foot tall, 10 to 12 foot tall, depending on your variety and such. And works really well as a screen, like a road screen, a plot screen going into your hunting setup, and so on. But it also can be used as bedding and cover as well. We're going to move on now to planting evergreen trees. Planting trees is going to be a long-term fix for creating wildlife bedding and cover. You have a couple great options, and that is red cedar and white pines. The red cedars, they give, if you've ever been around a cedar thicket, you know that deer love those cedar thickets because they hold in thermals. It keeps those animals warm and keeps the wind off of them. Great option for bedding and cover if you have the resources to plant those trees and the area to do that as well. Those are really great options. Creating that thermal and then creating that wind blockage with those cedar trees, branching low to the ground. That's an excellent way to keep wildlife bedding on your property, as well as the white pines. They typically get taller, but it's also a really good wind break. And any kind of thicket, whether it's cedar thicket, pine thicket, or mixed thicket, those are always really good options for those wildlife to go and bed in. Now, if we're talking about rabbits and quail and such, you do have other options, small shrubs, spruce trees, different things like that. They're always great options. The last thing I'm going to talk about today is hinge cutting, and if you don't know what that is, you can see in the photo here that what you do, and this would be a scenario that you could use if you didn't have any type of fields that you could plant your switchgrasses in, your cedar trees, anything like that. Of course, you could plant cedars in the woods, but this is if you don't have any of the other options. And so that is hinge cutting. Basically what you do is you go into your woods and don't cut your oaks or your walnuts or your high dollar trees. Go in and cut less value trees. And what you're going to do is go in and cut them about waist high, and you're not going to cut them all the way through. You're going to cut them about halfway, let them lodge over, and then during the spring and the summer, they're still going to leaf out, and they're going to provide a ground cover for the animals that that are on your property. And they do work well. You can go in and do this to, like I said, your less valuable trees. Do it in, you know, a half acre area, depending on what your size of your property is. You know, half acre, smaller, quarter acre, whatever you see fit. And just especially if you got open woods. Open woods are not ideal for wildlife habitat as far as, you know, them staying in there. So if you go in, hinge cut trees over, and create that bedding area, you're going to be more successful, and you're going to keep more animals on your property. I hope you all enjoyed this video today. We could talk all day about going more depth, talk all day about every one of these topics, and go dive way deeper into this. But I just wanted to cover that, briefly cover it in this short video, and just kind of breeze over what your options would be and could be, you know, if you're trying to improve the bedding and cover on your property, and so on. But I appreciate you guys watching this video, and if you don't mind, take the short 5-question survey that's at the end of the video. I'd love to have your feedback to help me to know if these videos are educational or if they're not, if they're helpful. We'd just like to have your feedback. Again, this is Wildlife Wednesdays, and I'm Adam Huber, and I appreciate you guys watching.